Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's conclude this lecture with a realistic question. How should we choose between ethical life and economic life? Well, I guess, this question becomes very relevant whenever there is insufficient time or resources to do everything, and that we have to choose. For example, when the government is facing limited budget, how should it choose between low-income households, education spending, and building a new generation aircraft carrier? Right? Should the government reject real estate development in preserving natural forests for things like that? Well, there is an interesting story in Analects, and perhaps we can learn something from it. When Zigong asked Confucius about a way of government or governance, Confucius said, the requisites of government are that there be sufficiency in food, sufficiency of soldiers, and the faith of the people. So 3 things: food, soldiers, and faith. Then Zigong said, so if it cannot be helped, and one of these must be dispensed with, which of the 3 should be foregone first? Confucius said, the soldiers. Zigong asked again, now if it cannot be helped, and one of the remaining 2 must be dispensed with, which of them should be foregone? Confucius said, part with food. From of old, death has been the lot of all men. But if people have no faith in their hearts, there is no standing for anyone. Now, this dialogue is very important and very interesting. The questions and answers are both very good. The word food includes all economic life, as it's not just about food, but everything else that is needed to sustain basic economic need. The word soldiers means all military forces and equipment. And the word faith means all religions and ethical life, religious and ethical life. Now, as far as we have seen, Confucius emphasizes economic life as the first thing in a society. And even in this dialogue, he puts food before the other 2. But when the economic life and ethical life cannot both be preserved, economic life must be sacrificed. Now, this seems a bit of a foolish policy and impractical theory. Moreover, it seems contradictory to his own principle that economic life should come before ethical life. In reality, however, there is great harmony between them. Now, in fact, the trade-off depends upon the 3 stages of society. Now, to understand this, we must go back to Lecture 2. Remember, in the primary stage, when people do not know much about faith, and their immediate need is food. So, under this circumstance, or in this type of society, if you talk to them on any subject such as religion or ethics, before they can satisfy their hunger, they will simply not listen to you. Food, therefore, must come before all the other things. But in the advanced stage, when they have built a society as high as a state, well, they must know something about faith. And faith is the strongest social tie, as we have seen in Lecture 2. So if the getting of food were their only purpose, or escaping from death their highest ideal, they would simply do anything in any way for the sake of their lowest self. So without faith, the world would be a wilderness. No one would trust other people, and everyone would be an enemy to others. Society could not exist, and at last, not even the individual could exist. So only the strongest would survive in this case. Now, in the beginning, the people would sacrifice their faith to escape death, but ultimately they would fall together into death because they had no faith. I think a great teacher like Confucius must prefer faith to food, or, in other words, he must choose to die with faith rather than to live without it. Food is the primary means of building up society, but faith is the final end, if you like, in maintaining it. So these two theories of Confucius are not contradictory. Therefore, this policy is not only honest, but also wise. It is also very practical. Now, to conclude this lecture, let me just say, the choice between ethical life and economic life touches every aspect of human society, from government policy, corporate business conduct, to personal life. No man is purely economic focused, because ethical life is rooted in nature. Therefore, it can be harmonized with economic life. This concludes this lecture. Thank you.